Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready.
The first one is titled, Neighbor Build Lakeside Retaining Wall 2 feet onto our lake property, won't come out of house to talk to us. Greensboro, GA. Posting on behalf of my parents. We have had our lake house for over 10 years now and have a neighbor that we will call Bob. Bob has caused us some trouble in the past, including trying to make his own boat ramp next to our property illegally. We called the authorities and they immediately put a stop to it. This week was the first time we went to the lake in a month and noticed Bob has built a cement retaining wall. Not only is it ugly, but it is 2 feet into our property. We still have the stakes from previous surveyors, but the stakes are so far apart it's hard to line them up from the front to the back of the house. We tried to talk to Bob, but he refuses to come out of his house. Mom is going to hire another surveyor to come out just to make sure we are correct, but what else do we need to do? Thanks for your time. Edit. We could not find any active permits under his name or address using the database online for our county. Mom is calling the county office tomorrow to double check. Also found out since this is a GA power lake, it has some specific rules and regulations for lakeside maintenance, none of which he followed. I am having the parents order some security cameras just in case they use legal action against Bob, and he becomes hostile in return. Update. We hired a surveyor and they told us our neighbor was over the property line by 8 feet. The wall is now down, and our neighbor phoned my dad with an apology and offered to pay for the surveyor. All is well. The next one is titled, Neighboring Property Burned. Firefight caused $20,000 in damage to my basement. Who should pay for repair? New York. A neighboring property burned down. The cause is still under investigation. Many fire departments responded and sprayed all the water they could. The water flowed down into my lawn. Dirty water, smelling of burned plastic and charred wood, sprayed from my basement wall and filled 6 to 8 inches of my partially finished basement. We pumped it out, but the damage was done. Who should cover the damage from this event? Do I have to eat the cost? Update. So, here's the update. After the insurance company denied our claim, we appealed, and they denied it again. We sent a complaint to the state insurance regulator, and they were about useless. I started contacting lawyers because I was pretty sure it was a covered claim, and I even found a case that seemed on point in my favor. But my damages weren't enough for any of the law firms to be interested. Wound up being about $20,000 because we didn't have valuable stuff in the basement. I then went back to the case I found and tried to contact the firm that argued the case, and they took it. I figured it would be less effort for them to refer to their own case and/or mirror whatever they did that time. They were a few hours away from me, but they took the case and negotiated a settlement which didn't fully cover our damages but was better than nothing, which is what we were originally offered. The insurance, my homeowners, is supposed to sue the neighbors and their insurance but shows no interest in that at all. It was a very unsatisfying experience, and I will be changing insurance companies, although I expect no better from other companies. I hope I never have to make another claim, and unless the damages are really huge, I won't. FYI. Apparently, it's worth it to have lots of insurance. I was considering just dropping everything to minimums because, why pay so much every year if they just don't cover stuff whenever they feel like they'd rather not cover it? My lawyer, who sues insurance companies, has coverage out the wazoo. You can always sue to enforce the policy if you really need to. And the pittance you get is more than nothing. The next one is titled, Neighbor Seems to Be Outright Lying and Trying to Claim She Owns 2 feet of My Property. New Jersey. I know this is not really that complicated of an issue, based on the information I have at the moment, but I want to be sure I have some good standing, and I'm very angry, so I imagine this will be a venting session. We have been neighbors for roughly 6 years, haven't had a lot of major issues. The one big point of contention is that they have their water drainage on my property, but I've been kind of letting that go as they've been mostly nice, and I don't like to fight with my neighbors, and it hasn't really caused me that many issues besides the general stress of feeling taken advantage of. I have a tree. My neighbor doesn't like my tree. She asked me to cut it down, because the squirrels were taking the walnuts, climbing to the top of a telephone pole, and leaving droppings on her car. I told her I would not be cutting down my tree, because I like my tree. So, I get a text from her today, saying that she had a surveyor come and they actually owned 2 feet past their fence into my property. They are currently renting, but planning on purchasing the house, and when the purchase is complete, they are going to move the fence 2 feet over. That didn't sound right, so I pulled out my deed, and according to the town records and the taxes I've been paying, there is no way in hell they own 2 feet more past this fence. However, if she moves the fence 2 feet over, the tree is then on her property, and she could justify cutting it down. I asked her to give me her surveyor's contact info, because I needed to know why my deed and the surveyor were not matching up. She said that when they purchased the house, she would gladly give me a copy of the info. I really can't help but feel that she is just outright lying to me, and would simply have moved the fence over, and is expecting me to just be like, "Oh, okay, that's fine, I'm not going to follow up on this at all." I plan on going to get some sort of clarification or backup on my deed, and possibly any public information on their property. I am considering contacting a lawyer, but man, spending any more money on this seems so ridiculous. Any advice or thoughts would be greatly appreciated. Update. Lying neighbor trying to steal a 2-foot strip of my property. Just received a certified letter from her attorney complaining about my tree. This woman is driving me completely nutty. I received a certified letter complaining about my walnut tree, stating the leaves fall in her yard. The squirrels carry the nuts from the tree up to the top of the telephone pole at the end of her driveway and drop the nuts on her car, and if her dog eats a walnut it might choke. Everything I have seen on the internet tells me that since the tree is not dead or dying or otherwise a hazard, I can simply disregard the letter. Which is exactly what I plan to do, but please let me know if I should not disregard it for any reason. Legal advice. Also, I did fork out the money to get a survey of my own, which definitively placed that 2-foot strip of my property in my possession. Good lord. How to get a crazy neighbor who needs a new hobby to just leave me alone. The next one is titled, Town Trying to Make Me Drive Through School Property. New Jersey. I have a real estate question. My driveway currently empties onto a 2-way road. At the end of the 2-way road is a school which is owned by the regional school district, independent of the town. The town wants to turn the 2-way road into a 1-way road to reduce traffic and allow parents 2 lanes to line up to pick up their children. By them turning it into a 1-way road, this will now force me to drive through the school's parking lot to get back to a public road. The town would get an easement from the regional school district to allow me to do this. However, this brings up a slew of issues for me such as snow plowing and maintenance like paving, potholes etc. Can the town force me to drive through the school's private property to get access to a public road? Should I lawyer up to try and prevent it? Thank you in advance for your advice. Update. After lawyering up and fighting with the town for the past 6 months, the town has decided to vacate the road and both myself and the school district will each get half the road. Now all I have to do is figure out how to keep those crazy parents off my side of the road. The next one is titled, Property Manager Dropped $2,000+ water bill on me yesterday. Water bill is split between 2 units. PM collects from 2 tenants and pays bill. Looks as if it has not been paid in months. Georgia. In May, property manager, PM, sent a water bill over email and asked why it was so high. At that point it was around $1,000. This was sent to me and the other tenant. I missed the email and I saw a text from her later when I did not respond. She asked to get a plumber in to look at the unit. I mentioned that there was small drip in the bathroom sink, and she got it fixed. I also mentioned that I have to jiggle the handle on my toilet sometimes to get it to stop running. I never was billed through our portal, which I am usually billed through, for that $1,000 bill, and never really realized that it was that high. Yesterday she dropped a $2,700 bill with a cell phone picture only partially showing the bill. I have asked repeatedly that she scan and email a full copy, but that was yesterday afternoon, and she has yet to do so. However, I can see through the cell phone bill that it has a carryover balance. And a disconnect notice dated the end of the month. I am not sure if I am responsible for that bill. Any late payments I would certainly hope not. If I am responsible because of a leak, well, knowing about that leak a few months ago would certainly have saved me money. So, backstory. I use the term property manager, instead of landlord because I have lived here almost 4 years, and originally the owner was handling the day-to-day issues. He is one of 2 owners that I met when I first came to look at the place. He handled a water heater repair / ensuing gas leak situation poorly, and the ensuing drama caused him to get the PM hired. A few years ago, prior tenant told me that PM tried to get the utilities transferred to her name. She was like, "No, I'm not going to collect money from my neighbor, are you nuts? That's your job." New tenant comes in. 5 tenants in 4 years in the other 2 units. She is not told that we share utilities. She just gets the utilities transferred to her name. She gets wise to this when I introduce myself to her and let her know that FYI the thermostat in your unit controls my place. Annoying, for sure, but whatevs. She then talks to the PM, says hey, no, transfer this crap back. Bonus story, the gas gets disconnected a few months ago, because after the other tenant has it transferred out of her name, the PM is like, gosh I done no get a bill I was wonders about that. A week of cold showers. Other tenant tells me that she has requested copies of the bills every month and has received nothing since that May water bill. Other tenant doesn't think the whole setup is legal. I went over her head to the owner, and he thanked me for bringing it to his attention, probably doesn't know about the gas snafu. I have decided to stop communicating with him in case I screw myself somehow. Am I liable? Is the whole setup legal in the first place? Update. It seems as if the PM was fired. A new person from the management company is dealing with me now. I incorrectly answered in the last post that my lease said I was responsible for utilities. I was actually looking at the 2016 to 2017 lease. I asked the new PM for a copy of the 2017 to 2018 lease. Nowhere to be found, and they are asking me to sign a new one retroactively covering the period. The source of the leak turned out to be outdoors near the water meter, not anything in my unit. The other tenant says she was paying for my utilities without knowing it for several months when she first moved in and that separately metered utilities are illegal, and this invalidates her lease and mine, and she has something in writing from the former PM that she is now on month to month. This is her talking, not M. I have seen none of this, and I think I found in my last post that separately metered units are legal, so long as the place was built before 2012. Yes, definitely. While PM is happy to answer my question regarding the lease, they have not answered the question about who is responsible for the water bill. What are the dangers of not having a lease? I'm assuming I could be tossed out without notice. Should I sign one retroactively? Should I sign a new one without an answer on the water bill? I do actually like this place, despite the bad management. Not sure if I like it at a $2,700 surprise bill kinda level. I had thought I would renew October 1st. The last one is titled, Neighbor is rebuilding fence, chickens trespass and eat vegetables and release excrement on renter's property. Texas. My friend owns 6 acres in the country and is building an RV park. Currently, he has a few renters, friends. One of his neighbors began replacing a fence a year and a half ago to better contain his, I presume, free-range chickens. Since the project began, the chickens have gotten through my friend's fence in larger quantities than before. They eat the vegetables one renter is growing, and poop on the property of everyone. My friend doesn't keep chickens himself, but some of these seem to have decided to stay on his property. Others continue to migrate through the surrounding properties. If talking to the neighbor does not result in the chickens being permanently exiled, what escalation steps can my friend take? Are these chickens fair game for the dinner table? I jokingly told him to take inspiration from Vlad the Impaler, as this would certainly get the neighbor's attention. Might be a bit extreme as a beginning. Update. I was passing through town to visit family elsewhere, and my dog got loose when we stopped to visit my friend. Dog killed a chicken on my friend's property before we could regain control of him. Neighbor is threatening to sue and to press charges. Please advise. Edit. Does the neighbor have grounds for legal action, even though his chicken were on my friend's property? Thanks for listening.